This is Stu Ellis with your Illinois Corn Connection, brought to you by Illinois Corn. Corn growers across the state are in the field harvesting. One of the many is Bill Leigh, District 4 Director in northwestern Illinois and a past president. He shared some combine cab with you.
We're in the combine cab of Bill Leigh, and Bill, we're in Marshall County. Is that where we are?
Correct. It's about the southern edge of Marshall County, over in the southeast corner.
And how much? You've already been picking a little bit of corn here. How much have you of your?
I'm about a third done.
Okay.
The weather's been good. The corn's low 20% range, and able to keep working at it.
That's 20%. That's kind of dry, and you indicated that you just didn't have a whole lot of moisture here late in the summer.
No, we hit the month of August, and the first 2 weeks of September only had like 1.8 inches, less than 2 inches, and it kind of, as I describe it, died ugly, where it had the soil type and matured more naturally. It's quite good corn, and then you get the areas where it ran out of moisture and it drops off.
What sort of yield are you looking at right now for what you've harvested?
Well, I would say that it's maybe not quite as good as last year, but more on an average yield, somewhere around 230 bushel, I think.
Well, 230 shouldn't be too bad for the weather that you have had.
No, when you consider the year and how we started out late, because all this was planted after the 10th of May, and then you had the hot, dry June, first 2 or 3 weeks of June, and then some timely rains. It's rather remarkable we're getting this kind of crop. We are trying to go to more minimum tillage with what's going into soybeans. We'll put down about 20 pounds of ryegrass in the fall. So this cornfield, when we're done, I'll get a hold of FS and they'll put it on with some fertilizer with their spinner truck, and I'll leave it. And we've done this for 2 years now, and I think it's been pretty successful. We get a reasonable ryegrass stand and in the springtime, and then we'll plant into the standing ryegrass.
Okay.
And the corn will hit it once in the spring with a combination tool, and then we'll plant. So we're trying to cut down on the passes, and at the price of fuel, it seems to me to be a prudent thing to do, as long as we're not, and I don't think we're taking much agronomic damage or yield hits on that. We'll take our maps, we do VRT soil testing, and we'll do replacement. We'll take our yield maps in, and we'll basically put down replacement for what we remove for P and K, and then the nitrogen. We've been kind of using, what the recommendations are for the maximum return. Following beans, we're somewhere around the 170 units, 175 units of commercial N. Part of it anhydrous, part of it we used ammonium thiazole this spring, trying to get some sulfur onto the fields, and it's a good crop. We'll see how it all works out when we get done.
Where does when you market it, where does it go?
I've got really here a lot of several options. I've got, as we pointed out earlier, there's a rail site over here that about 8 miles away or 6 miles away that I'll market through, and a lot of it will go there. I can go to the river at Lakin. There's Cargill and ADM there. I've got Marquist Energy. A fair amount of that goes up to the ethanol plant.
Okay, at Hennepin?
Up at Hennepin.
All right. So you've got corn that heads around the world and also into fuel tanks.
Absolutely. He's complaining at me. Yes, we'll. I feel like we're really fortunate here that we have several options of. There's my semi. We have several options on delivery locations for this grain that we get.
You've gone all through the chairs of the Corn Association. anything about some of the things that Illinois corn is doing right now as far as policy
Well,
and marketing?
I think that some things we're working on, of course, is there's a WRDA, the waterways. I can't think of all the acronyms go for, but it's dealing with the locks and dams, and it's being reauthorized. And we've worked with Senator Duckworth, has introduced a cost share of 75% federal, 25% from the Inland Trust Waterway Trust Fund to for new constructions of locks and dams on the inland waterway system. And it's going to the House now. We've got some work to do trying to get the House to agree to that 75-25. That basically, as staff would say, that means in the next 10 years, if you could get the 75-25, it'd be another lock somewhere on the upper Mississippi. And that's a big deal. More than just our grain going down. If you don't have to break a tow that's going, that's going down the river or up the river, it's a lot cheaper. It's maybe a penny to 2 pennies a bushel, per block that you go through, if you don't have to take the time that goes with it. So we're excited about that. But going along with that, right now we're concerned there's not much we can do about it, but the river levels are so low right now, and we're enjoying this wonderful open harvest season, but it's been 2 weeks or more since we had any rain around here, and you start to get crops like this, and you start, you get a fire somewhere, and it can get real ugly too. But the river system needs to be replenished, and there's nowhere within if you pull up the maps I've seen that are within the watersheds that have received much of anything in the Mississippi system. So that's a worry thing that's happening. And of course, right now with election coming up, a lot of exciting things happening there, just trying to get to know the candidates, and then Farm Bill coming in which has to do with how the elections go.
That was your Illinois Corn Connection. I'm Stu Ellis. To learn more about how Illinois corn is working for you, visit www.ilcorn.org.